I was building up these movement mechanics, and then we did a playtest and it was just broken. So I started this month's development just fixing up those bugs. Those bugs were indeed not fixed. God damn it, man. Making a multiplayer video game is very hard. I've tried so hard. I started off really strong and then it sort of just collapsed because I just ran into so many multiplayer issues. But that was 4 months ago, baby. We've solved everything. We good. We good. I found the general movement component, which adds client interpolation, rollback networking, and client prediction, among many other network features. And then we found another developer to work with us, and we just been pumping through. Yeah. I didn't originally see any of these issues because the player controller in the prototype was so basic. You couldn't really grapple or swim or any of those fast-paced movements, but you could just walk around, sprint, crouch, and slap, and that was pretty much it. At its core, Spanky is a fast-paced multiplayer game. It's a game of tag, and over the course of development, the player controller has just evolved so much more than what it originally was in the prototype, and the prototype is what helped me get the funding. Everything beyond that has just evolved. Basically, in short, I'm coding this entire game with Unreal Engine's blueprints, and Unreal Engine's blueprints don't have rollback or network prediction or smooth client interpolation or any of those network smoothing features. They're essential for fast-paced multiplayer games. But I don't want to bore you to death about annoying networking issues. If you're interested about networking stuff, watch my last video. I go in depth about how I solved these issues. But for now, let's just dive into the other changes that we've made over the last 4 months. We've always had the inventory system half-baked in our game, but I decided I really wanted to get the loot boxes working. It's a jiggly bum, and you get this wiggly slappy arm, and you have to slap the bum. I just think this is a fun, interactive way to open loot boxes. I know not everyone's going to want to slap the bum for every single item, so we're going to have a button just to open them as well. I just want to put some fun interaction into the opening experience, you know? Yo, look at me, it's Rory. I'm in an old version of the game now. And now that we have the new loot box system in place, I also want to make a new customized system. So if you look here in this version of the game, there's a customize button, and if I click on this, it brings me to this menu here where I can spin my character around. Look at that jiggly butt. All of the different hats that I've currently made will come up, and if you change the color, you can also see the cosmetics change. I do like the simplicity of it, but I just don't love the functionality. So now I'm going to code a wardrobe where you can see all of the cosmetics for each type all at once. This is the basic functionality. You can see I only had one hat there. Now if I open the loot box, it's going to throw a bunch of errors, but you can see now it's populated with the new hats that we just got. So after fixing that issue, now I can grant cases, open cases, and AAA game in the making. But yeah, this is the final iteration that we've landed on. You can see the items are displayed in order of rarity. They've got the little locked symbol, so you can see exactly how many items you have to unlock and which ones you do and don't have. Overall, I'm a lot happier with how this turns out. The way the logic is set up also means that we can easily add extra items, and they should populate in these lists as well in future updates. And if you have any cosmetic ideas, join our Discord, link in the description, because each month leading up to the release of the game, we're going to be doing cosmetic competitions. So if you have designs or ideas, submit them into the competitions and you might get a free copy of the game and be credited in the credits. Now I've had a little bit of a distraction with the booty loot boxes and the wardrobe and the UI, and having fun doing some of that cosmetic stuff and ignoring the actual giant looming shadow above my head that is multiplayer character movement. Let's put on our big boy pants and tackle the multiplayer. So like I said earlier, I'm going to keep this short and sweet. I looked at a plugin called Smooth Sync, but that is a client authoritative movement smoothing, and it did work, but I don't want client authoritative because it makes it a lot easier for cheaters. And then I looked at Learning C++ or Unreal Engine's gameplay ability system, but both of those are very, very in-depth things that would take me quite a long time. Neither of those really fit within this project's timeline, so I ended up finding a very good plugin called the General Movement Component, and it basically replaces Unreal Engine's base movement component. So essentially I had to rebuild the entire character's movement from the ground up using this system. I honestly cannot tell you how much better this system is. It has significantly saved this project, and while we're we're on the topic of multiplayer, it was time that I revisited the slap for what feels like the 10th time. The way I've been handling the slap in this game is that if the server detects an overlap from a person who is slapping and can slap, then you transfer the tag. And that has been working, but I didn't really test it in network conditions. So if someone's on 100 ping, they're gonna see a little bit of a delay in that slap, or sometimes what they see is not going to register. This is something that I saw from a video from the Overwatch developers. The technology obviously is vastly different. They have millions and millions of dollars, but basically what they said, there needs to be a certain threshold where you need to trust the player. You need to trust what the player sees, because if you don't trust what the player sees and you only trust what the server sees, then every single person is not going to have a really amazing experience. So now I've recoded it so that if the slap is coming from the owning player, and if that person has a network ping that is under a certain threshold, then we can accept their slap. This does mean that not every single slap is going to be authoritated through the server only, and that some of them will be processed through the server from the clients. But at the end of the day, the clients are the ones that we need to ensure are having the best experience, because the clients are you, the players, and if it's not fun or responsive for the players, then it's just not going to be a fun game. I mean, that felt pretty responsive to me. I mean, 60 ping is pretty good. And so now, you might be asking yourself, Rory, you have funding from Landfall Games. Why on God's green earth are you working alone through all of these issues and this entire game on your first project? And to that I say, touché. That's why in the months of November and December, I was actually putting out job postings. I did find someone suitable for the job who is in the same time zone as me, and that we could work closely together. So that brings us to the part of this video where I'd like to introduce Blake to all of you guys. He's my new team member, and we're both going to be working on this game full time until we get it released. And I don't know, man, I've always just had this thing throughout this project where it just felt like I can just do this by myself, I can just put my head down and chug through it, but honestly, having the second brain has just pushed the project so much further forwards. So here's just a select handful of clips of Blake being very helpful.
The only other thing I noticed, like only just then, if you crouch while using the grapple, you can actually freeze yourself in the air, because I think it like slows your movement down.
Oh, that's fun.
So crouch falling into the water, you end up looking like this.
Amazing.
Oh yeah, this is the spot I was talking about. Get yourself a little bit stuck.
I just wanted to say thanks. I'm glad you came along, partner.
Okay, those things are nothing crazy. There's a lot more things that we've discovered together. It would be pretty weird if I saved every single one. So those are just some examples. I just want to make the point that having two brains is so much better than one. There are so many things that I've missed that Blake has pointed out, or so many things that I've wanted to trial that I could only really trial with another developer. We've just pushed the project so much further. We have a clear roadmap of everything we want to get done. We have everything set out, and we've just made so much progress.
Oh no. Oh no, I bounced on your butt.
What the f-
That's a good one.
Ha ha ha! It's not even that funny. This game is so dumb, man.
Oh no. I'm coming to... Oh, that's a cheeky spot. I didn't know about that.
No!
I saw you. No! Stupid.
And now I think it's time to do something that I've wanted to do for a very long time and change something that's really annoyed me, and that's the style of the game. You might notice now that things look a little bit washed out, and this is actually what it's looked like for quite a long time. The shadows in the game have been a dark blue tint, but they haven't really been dark. This is pretty much as dark as the shadows get, and everything overall just looks a little washed out. I don't really know how to explain it, but if you look at past videos and past devlogs and past clips of pretty much everything that I've posted about this game, you'll notice that sometimes it just looks a little washed out and the dark areas don't really get very dark. This is what the post-process previously looked like. I followed a tutorial from the Prismatica dev channel, and it's been a really amazing foundation, and then I pretty much just butchered it and obliterated it to match what I wanted, but in the process I think I ended up losing the visual style that I was originally aiming for, and that's pretty much all this post-process has. Then I took it upon myself one day to pretty much revisit and rewrite the entire thing, or at least a large portion of it, and so now the visual style of the game has gone from this to this. And I think this is so much better. You can see the dark areas are actually a lot darker now. Everything has a lot more color and a lot more pop. It's a bit hard to tell, but you can see on the rocks behind me and my character and the ramps behind me that there is just a tiny thin outline that accentuates the shape. And you can see on these rocks that are close to me, you can see the outline that's touching the ground is actually a light outline, not a dark outline. So now we have the outlines that show up either light or dark, depending whether they're in a light or dark area of the screen. So what do you guys think of this new visual style? This is just our sandbox map, and you can see here there are 4 power-ups. One of them is the random power-up. It's a little butt capsule with a question mark in it. I'm really happy with how this model turned out. I didn't really know how to display the power-ups properly, but I think this is a good solution. It's kind of like the question mark cubes from Mario Kart. Anyways, these are the 3 power-ups we currently have. The one up the top is the grapple. The next one is the butt bomb. It's meant to be a bomb with a butt on the end of it. And the one closest to me is the aim butt. So in a regular game, these are not going to be displayed. In a regular game, it's going to be this capsule here. Once you pick up this capsule, it determines whether you can slap people or if you're just someone who's running away from people, and depending on that, it'll give you a specific power-up. So the grapple hasn't really changed since last time. Once you walk over it, you pick it up, and then you get to see this symbol. It's red when you can't reach something, but then it turns green once you can reach something. And so if I want to grapple onto this rock, I just have to wait until it's green, and then I can right-click and it'll grapple. The next power-up is the butt bomb. I'm really happy with how this one turned out as well. I don't want to just make every power-up show up on screen. I'd like you to be able to tell what power up you have based on visual cues in the game. So when you pick up the butt bomb now, your butt goes really big. And so when you see someone running around with a big butt like this, it means they have a butt bomb. If you crouch in the air, it'll give you a big boost. But if I jumped off something higher, it'll give me a bigger boost. And then this is the last power up that we have for now. When I first coded it, I made it so that the camera will lock onto someone when you're aiming at them, but I found that to be a little janky. It feels very weird when you're running around aiming at people and then all of a sudden the camera just locks onto something and you can't take your aim off it until you let go of the power up. So now instead of that, it just searches the screen for any opponents and it'll snap your arm onto their butt when you go for a slap. If I pick up the power up and then I hold down my hand, you can see it's lit up green already. If I look far away enough, it'll turn red, and this means that it's searching for someone, and then once you get close enough, it'll find them and snap green. And so when it's green and you let go, your hand will just slap onto their butt. No matter how far away you are, if you've got the aim butt and it's locked on, it pretty much just snaps onto their butt instantaneously. So now one of the tasks that Blake and I undertook was making some more maps. Here I'm going to show you some maps, and I'm also going to show you the before and after of the new post-processing. This map is called Vicksburg. It's like a little medieval village centered around this central tower. This one is Twerk Temple. It's based on a Japanese village, Japanese temple style. It's very saturated with the new post-process, but that's more to do with the sun and sky settings rather than the post-processing. It's a nice map, but it's a bit big, so it needs to be a little smaller. This one is called Atmos. It's floating islands in the sky. I really like this one. It's quite fun to try and not fall off the map and hop around the little islands. I think maps with obstacles increase the skill ceiling a little bit. This one is called Oasis. This one's a nice Egypt vibe. Very warm, very different to all the other ones. Centered around this middle temple again. Please ignore the bad camera skills. It was really hard to get a smooth camera. Every time I turn my mouse, it looks a little janky. This one is called Booty Falls. It's nice waterfall. It's a very simplistic, basic map to introduce people to the game. It's got a nice tree that's fallen over in the middle of the map, so people can use that as a point of interest to grapple and fly across the map. And then this one is called Prototype. This one I really wanted to make something that was akin to the very first map that I made and tested with my girlfriend, so I thought it'd be cool if I could remake a map properly but in the style of those Prototype maps. Those are pretty much the biggest major changes that we've done over the last 4 months. It doesn't seem like a lot for 4 months of work, but we've done a lot of little bug squashing and quality of life things, just things that aren't really noteworthy of putting in the devlog. We also made a quick tutorial, but we're going to remake it. The purpose of the tutorial is simply for playtesters, because we've been doing all of this in preparation for some alpha tests, and we just did them this last week, and our next video is going to be about the alpha tests. So if you like this and you want to see how the game actually plays with multiple people, these alpha tests are pretty much the very first time we've been able to test and play the game properly with up to 8 people, and there were a lot of bugs that we found, but it went really well. So I hope you guys can stick around for that video. And if you've made it this far, it would mean the world to us if you wishlisted the game on Steam. And that's all I have for today, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you guys in the next one.